Douglas County's bitterly divided school board agrees on one thing, that they should ask voters for more money in November.
Tonight, the boards decided to put a teacher pay measure on the ballot, and they're likely to add another one that would build new schools and upgrade security. 9 News reporter Kelly Rinke stepped out of that meeting as it continues tonight. And Kelly, community members told the Dougco School Board they thought it was time for them to start working together despite their political differences.
Yeah, Kyle, even one board member during her vote chuckled when she said yes, because she said it was nice to actually see all 7 board members agree on something. Every single board member voted yes to increase taxes for teacher pay, and they're voting on that second measure right now. Here's how these 2 tax increases would work in November. The district says one would help build new schools and update security on campuses, but many focused on that second resolution. The extra money will bump up salaries for teachers and staff. DCSD says their teachers are making $4,000 to $24,000 less than teachers in nearby districts. And education assistants are passing on jobs because they can make more money working at a fast food restaurant. One principal said he's struggling to recruit because of this pay gap. He had an opening for a 4th grade teacher for 3 weeks without a single application.
Losing quality staff members this past year because they could not afford to live in Castle Rock or somewhere that was at least reasonable where they could drive and come work at Rock Ridge.
If voters pass both of these measures in November, it would cost residents $1 per week for every $100,000 in a home value, so $5 a week for a $500,000 house. Charter schools would be allocated about $15 million to increase pay, and Kyle, one board member, had raised concerns about the oversight of how those funds will be allocated. He had asked for a specific plan from those schools to make sure that they use the funds correctly.
And that's been one point of tension between neighborhood schools and charter schools in Douglas County, Kelly. And the new superintendent came in from the charter school world, but seemed like she wanted to kind of bridge the gap tonight.
Yeah, and she said she had full confidence in how the charter schools will use those funds, but she said it wasn't unreasonable for the board members to ask those charter schools to post plans on their website.
Kelly Rinke reporting. Thank you, Kelly.
Disappointing news from the Aurora Animal Shelter. They're full. Too many people have surrendered animals, and as of today, they can't take any more. Compared to this time last year, they have 41% more dogs, and this is something a lot of shelters are experiencing right now.
We used to have a lot of other resources where we could transfer some of our dogs out to other shelters who maybe had more space, and we found a big issue with that this year where everyone's saying, I'm sorry, I'm full right now, between our rescues who don't necessarily have the brick and mortar facility and even the other shelters in the area. They just don't have the capacity to help us out and make more room for us as well.
The shelter has an adoption special going on right now. Dogs and cats older than 6 months are half priced. They're also accepting donations to their food bank, which is fully donation based. And they remind you, you can always foster if you're not ready to commit to adopt.
A group of neighbors who lost their homes in the Marshall Fire gathered together tonight to mark a turning point. Nearly 8 months after that fire destroyed nearly 1,000 homes in Boulder County, their rebuilding process begins. Here's 9 News reporter Mark Salinger.
On a single block in Superior, scars are beginning to heal.
Our house used to be right here.
Sandy and Jim.
Nothing left, completely wiped out.
Judy.
Yeah, so we're standing in our driveway, our former driveway.
Lori and Brent.
That's our space, and they finally start digging for the foundation.
Ed and Nancy.
We all banded together and we've stayed together as a group.
And Eric and Leslie are neighbors. The Marshall Fire brought them together as survivors.
There were 8 homes that burned. 4 on this side, our house to the corner, and 4 on the other side.
The Grade 8, as they call themselves.
It caught on and we seem to enjoy that status.
Came together Tuesday.
Yeah, the Grade 8.
To put on construction hats and break ground.
Oh, there's a rock.
On their new homes.
We can't wait till it's done. Yeah, absolutely.
The neighbors all moved in at the same time when the subdivision was built 5 years ago. They chose to rebuild together with the same builder who gave them a home the first time around.
Remington came forward and said, we'd be happy to help you rebuild what you had before.
We're going to be starting construction this week on all 8.
On a single block in Superior, the Grade 8 build back their neighborhood.
It's special. It is.
Love the neighbors. Couldn't ask for better neighbors. Couldn't have gotten through this without them.
There were more than 50 homes in the neighborhood where these folks live in Superior. Theirs were the only 8 that burned down. After more than a year and a half of dealing with insurance and cleaning up debris today, everyone had a smile on their face, celebrating with champagne, well deserved for a positive change after so much negative.
Yeah, but here you are thinking the great 8, nearly 8 months later, and you're still looking at another 8 months, maybe 10.
8 months, 10 months, a year before all this will be done with all the building shortages, the staff shortages. It could be still a long time until they're actually able to move in, but still positive.
And these 8 are near the front of the line compared to a lot of their neighbors.
There are a lot of people that are going to be waiting a lot longer for even starting rebuilding. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you.
Special group of neighbors, though. Thank you. Denver police say they've arrested a man accused of stabbing a man on an RTD bus at the end of June. Police say they've taken Jerome Brewer into custody on assault and attempted murder charges. The DA will decide the final charges.
The A-Line train is up and running again to and from the airport after RTD said some stolen wire kept the trains off part of that line for most of the day. RTD says the issues were discovered after someone was hit and killed last night near the Central Park station. At that point, emergency shuttles replaced the trains for a time. Denver police and RTD have not said whether they believe that the person who was hit and killed on the tracks was involved in the theft of the ground wires at that spot. RTD sworn its new police chief today, Dr. Joel Fitzgerald. He comes from Waterloo, Iowa, where he led that police department after leadership positions at PDs in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and Fort Worth, Texas. In 2019, he was fired from his job in Fort Worth for what the city manager called poor judgment. Fitzgerald sued Fort Worth. He claimed that he was in the process of exposing corruption at City Hall to the FBI. He says he was fired the very day he was going to meet with the FBI. Here in Denver, Fitzgerald says he's been walking around in street clothes for the last couple of days, talking to people around RTD properties. And he says that he's heard that they want to see more police presence.
If we can change the perception of what goes on RTD to totally positive, we can get community support, and we can stop some of the things from happening on trains and on light rail and bus, it'll be a huge success.
The chief told us that starts, in his view, by making officers and other contract security more visible. RTD says it's working to expand its small police force and rely less on private security. Fitzgerald's job will be to oversee that transition.
Boulder police are asking for help finding a man they say robbed a bank today. Police say it happened just before 1:30. A man walked into the Vector bank on Broadway at Alpine, took out a note and demanded money. After that, he ran off. If you know anything, call Northern Colorado Crime Stoppers. Denver police say they've arrested a man in connection to a shooting earlier today at Washington and 5th. Another man was shot, is expected to survive. Police are still looking for information, though. Again, call Crime Stoppers.
Denver police say a 13-year-old is recovering after he was shot on the way home from the first day of school. Happened around 3:30 yesterday afternoon near the intersection of 14th and Ogden. Police say the 13-year-old's mom had just picked him up from school. They were driving home. Police say the mother had to slam on her brakes to avoid hitting a guy who was in the middle of the street yelling at drivers. The mom was able to maneuver around the man, but police say he fired shots and hit the boy. Police arrested the suspect, a man named Cottrell James, late last night. He's being held on charges of attempted murder.
New details about an apartment fire that killed a little boy. 5-year-old Abner Salmeron Bautista died in January. That fire started on the ground floor of an apartment on East Evan Avenue near Chambers in Aurora. Alondra Michel is charged with more than 30 counts related to that fire. At first, she denied any involvement. Today, an arrest affidavit was released and showed Michel eventually admitted to police. She started it by setting fire to a blanket after a fight with her boyfriend over text messages. She also told them she tried to put the fire out. Fire crews rescued several people as that fire burned, including Abner, but he died at the hospital. Michel is expected in court next month.
I found that so many people around here were finding a lot of black widows.
Yep, those are indeed black widow spiders being spotted around town. The experts say, just don't mess with them, you'll be fine.
Climate change is giving snow less time to pile up, and this will slowly affect Colorado's water supply.
After a warm, dry day, I am tracking a few monsoon storms on the horizon, plus a look ahead at that 7-day forecast after the break.